once I see that red meter. Oh, it just popped up now. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. I am Shon Williams, aka Mr. President. And this is the Safe Room, a safe space for entrepreneurs, business owners here in Toronto to share their personal and professional stories. And today we have a very special guest. I'm so happy to have this wonderful individual. Let me just break down a little bit what she does. Okay, so she's the founder of Sam Core Trainer, where she coaches 40-year-old women plus with the most comprehensive online health management program for women during menopause and midlife. So as you can see, we're going to get into a very important conversation. And listen, just do a little bit of flexing because we love to give our roads and our flowers to our guests. She's a serial entrepreneur, media expert, speaker, teacher, mentor, course trainer, author, you name it. And listen, for anyone in Canada, if you heard of the Marilyn Dennis show, yeah, she was part of that from 2013 to 21. She was like the fitness expert there. And honestly, if you also heard of high heels and hot flashes and flip flops and hot flashes, you definitely know exactly who I am talking about. Your resident muscle mommy, if you may say. I guess that's the nickname I'm giving her for this conversation. But today we have the one and only Samantha Montpetit-Huynh, Sam, as if you want to call her as it, but I'm going to say Samantha. Samantha, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks so much for that great introduction. And you can call me Sam. Please call me Sam. I feel like the only person who calls me Samantha is my mom when she's like angry if I'm in trouble. Samantha. But everybody, all my friends call me Sam.
We definitely know those ones when you get in trouble and it's like Shon Williams, though, like the full
Yeah,
name comes out.
the full name. Yeah. But my name is long. Like that's just I also have two middle names. So you can imagine.
Okay. You know what?
Yeah.
We'll save it for the hot seat. We'll get the
Okay.
juicy information out there, so we'll save
Okay.
it for then. But yeah, Sam, I'm happy to have you on. Obviously, we have people in the chat already going crazy. Shout out to Sis Chanel, always here every single week. You know, showing love.
Hi Chanel. Thank you.
Of course. But yeah, Sam, I'm glad to be talking with you. I remember we met back earlier this year, and I forgot exactly what was the name of the event. I feel like I should remember this, but I feel like time is an illusion at this point. Like I don't remember
Yeah.
everything, but I remember
Yeah.
bumping into you and talking, and like we had a great conversation, and just being able to see you on social media, seeing the stuff that you do. And I'm like, wow, like this is really great. And it was just a matter of time. And like, when is Sam coming on the Safe Room? When is she coming on the pod?
Aw. Yeah. Thanks. I do remember. I remember we were at an event. It was North York Civic Center, right?
Yes.
Wasn't it at Young and Shepherd? And it was a Black business event. It was run through the city of Toronto. It was a government event, but it was really interesting. And yeah, you and I met in the area where, oh my gosh, like little trade show that they had there. And I just
Yes.
happened to sit down beside you, and you were telling me you had a podcast, and I was like, yeah, I just started a podcast, and you were telling me it's specifically for entrepreneurs. I think it's really great what you've built here. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Listen, it ain't easy. It's a lot
No,
of bells and whistle.
I know. Actually, you know what? A friend of mine sent me a reel yesterday about if you're an entrepreneur, and I've always said entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart, because the way I look at it is if I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to do it to make myself rich, not somebody else. Right. And so this
Mm,
reel was very much that, like, yeah, this is something that really requires like a tough exterior, but be grateful that we get to do something that we love, and it's pushing through all that scary stuff and falling down thousands of times before we kind of get the thing, but we keep getting up, and it really landed with me. And so even though, yeah, entrepreneurship is hard, man, it's so worth it. And I would never work for the man again. Never.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, we're starting off with motivation right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But again, we're gonna get into everything, Sam, about the work that you do, the amazing expertise that you offer to women. We're gonna talk about menopause. I know there's a lot of women probably watching that might be, dealing with menopause. So we're gonna have a very informative conversation. But again, we want this to be very open. We want this to be a safe space for you, Sam, to be just open, authentic. So I'm definitely looking forward to asking the main question. But before we get into the main questions, ladies and gentlemen, we have to start off with our opening segment. It is the hot seat. Now, look, I'm not referring to like the hot flashes and high heels, Sam. I'm just talking about the hot seat. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you 4 questions and I want you to answer them to your best abilities. Okay.
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 Oh my God, now
Perfect.
I'm nervous. Okay.
You got this. You got this. I promise
Okay.
you
All
it's
right.
not
All
as
right. All right.
crazy as you
Okay.
think.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So, outside the work that you do, tell me something about yourself in 1 sentence.
Oh. Oh. That I do or something about myself? Sorry.
Just
Say it
tell me something
again.
about yourself in 1 sentence outside of the work that you do. So, like nothing related to what you do, your expertise. Tell me something about yourself in 1 sentence.
I love a good outdoor blocko.
You know what? That
I really,
I get it. Like you get nervous and it's just like the words are just they're
no,
not clicking.
no. The words are clicking because I feel like I've had like sort of like a rebirth a couple of years ago, and I'm really enjoying going out and dancing again and reminiscing and almost like reliving my 20s before I got married and had children and do all that stuff. So that is something that it's a really important part of my life right now. I'd have to say.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Because
that's good. That's
yeah.
good to know. Yeah, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's very important. Just kind of like revitalizing something inside of you that you thought was dead, but then it's like it brings a total new meaning in a different way that you never thought it could happen. Honestly, there's things that I used to do when I was young, and I thought, oh, like that was completely gone, like that was a phase, and next thing you know, it just kind of gets resparked, and you find
Yeah.
that passion again.
Of course, because we can so get lost in the mundane stuff that we do every day. And I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot more during this conversation, but there's so much stigma around aging, and this when it comes to women, not with men. Men, when they age, they're like, they get more handsome and all this other stuff. But women, we're not allowed to age, and so the fact that I'm going out and dancing, it's actually inspiring a lot of women my age to actually, it doesn't mean like because you're in 50s now you just have to stay home and do nothing. And no, absolutely not. Hell to the no.
Uh-huh, absolutely 100%. Yeah. All right. Again, we're starting off with positive vibes. I love it. That's the type of energy we want to set. Now, listen, again, I see your IG, you're super active there. And obviously, again, I kind of joked at the beginning of the show, like the nickname I give you was like muscle mommy. So this next question is gonna be related to that. So I wanted to ask
Okay.
you, what was maybe an exercise or maybe a particular lift that you did that you struggled at the time being and you learned to overcome? So maybe if it was like, you know what, I couldn't like do this exercise, I couldn't do this lift, and I just had to get through it. Or maybe it was like a mental shift where it's like, okay, maybe it's like I can't lift it because like I can't lift it, but maybe it's just like my mind's just not there in the moment. So like that's a question I want to ask you. Like, what was a lift, an exercise you struggled with, but you learned to overcome?
Okay, this is going to sound really arrogant because I can't remember a lift that I did really have a hard time and it was a block that I struggled to overcome, except for a pull up. So I think the most pull ups I've done by myself, like unassisted, are 5. I would love to get to 10. So I can't say I've overcome it because I've never really pushed myself. Like, because I'm also at a point where I'm like, okay, it is something I like to challenge myself with, but like, is it really? I don't know. Like, I don't know what doing 10 pull-ups is going to do for me as far as a functional movement. You know what I'm saying? Because now that I'm in my 50s, when I exercise, it's very intentional. It really is to help replicate things that I do in my everyday life, so I can stay independent and strong as I age. However, what I can say though is one thing that I love to do, my favorite exercise, is a chest press, and I'm lifting the heaviest I ever have now.
All
So I'm pretty
right.
proud of that. Pretty
That's
proud of
good to
that.
hear. That's good to hear. And honestly, to
Mhm.
even just kind of piggyback on what you said, like, the pull up situation, like I can do 5, but it's like I could probably push myself and do 10, but again, it's just like, do I want to? I feel like when you
Mhm.
get older too, you get a little bit wiser. And like you mentioned, there's intentionality in the stuff that we do, regardless, even if it has to do with like working out. I think just like in everyday life, we become more wiser and we're more
Of
intentional with our
course.
decision making. I feel like at the
Yeah.
times it's like, oh, I want to chase this goal. And like maybe when you were younger, it meant something to you. But now when you look back at it, it's just like, okay, even if I do chase it, like what happens next? It's just like, okay, I did it. But as you go day by day and you work on yourself in different variations in terms of like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and there's gonna be a meaning and purpose behind it, you feel
Mhm.
more of an accomplishment compared to like, hey, look, I sold like the most of my product in like 5 months faster than any other entrepreneur. It's like, all right, cool. It is what it is. But it's like, oh, are you actually like trying to track your progress every single day? Like, are you going back
Mhm.
and learning from your mistakes? What are you doing?
Mhm.
Like, what are other ways you're looking to be consistent? So I feel like even the way you explained that was perfect because I think it's focusing on that intentionality and not always focusing on like that instant gratification.
Yeah. I mean, I when I think about exercise specifically, like when I was younger, I used to do burpees. And now it's like, why in the world would I do a burpee? I'm not training to be a Navy SEAL. There's no reason at all for a 55, well, I'm not 55 yet, but for a 54-year-old woman to be doing burpees. Right now, I mean, it's a very catabolic exercise, and yes, it really gets your heart rate up and all the things. Great, but there's other things I can do to get the same result, and it doesn't have to be a burpee. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it it's something that will actually help improve my life. Burpees aren't going to help improve my life.
One
So my
hundred
goals have
percent.
changed when it comes to my fitness as I get older, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely 100%. And again, I hope we can talk a little bit more into detail for anyone who's listening, for all the women, because like again, I feel like they have that same thought process as like, well, maybe if I do this exercise, it's gonna be good for me. But again, like everyone's different. Like one thing that's
Mhm.
working for one person may not work for another. Obviously, shit don't say bad for
Ban
me.
burpees. I agree. I agree. I actually have one client that about a year ago or something, I was doing a challenge and I was like, and if you guys don't do this, you have to do 10 burpees. And she was like, oh, I love burpees. And we all looked at her like, are you like, what?
It's
Who
like
says that?
who invited this person?
Yeah, yeah. But okay. So she loves when I give her burpees, but she's probably like that one of the like three that I give burpees. Like, why? I don't know. Okay, fine.
Hey, it is what it is. All right. So,
Yeah.
getting into the next question here. I want you to tell me an interesting fact that you rarely share about yourself.
When I was, and I thought about this before because you did send me that question. When I was younger, I always had a massive fear of public speaking so badly that I would take F's in presentations. I would not stand up in front of the classroom. It all started because I remember I was in grade 9 and I stood up in front of the class and I was heckled by this popular kid and it devastated me. And I never, ever, ever, ever did anything. And so the fact that like years later I'm on TV and I'm doing all these things, I'm standing on stages talking to hundreds of people is like the very first time my mom was like, "Who are you and what have you done with Samantha?" Because when I was younger, it was really, really bad. But when I worked at a dental office. So before my fitness career, I worked at a dental office. I've been living on my own since I was 17, and I ran the dent. I managed. It was actually a periodontal office, so gum surgeon, and he got so many compliments about how I ran the office that he signed me up to do a workshop for all the referring dentists in our neighborhood, and I was mortified. And I was like, "How dare you do this? You didn't even ask me." He goes, "I'm so confident. I know you can do it." And so I was like, I even threatened to quit my job, which I couldn't because I had to pay rent. And he said, "Tell you what," he goes, "I will pay for you to have private public speaking lessons to prepare you." And that's what started it. I stood in a room and I talked to about 25 dentists. I had a whole presentation. By the time I was done, I thought I was going to have a full on heart attack because my heart was like this. But he looked at me and he goes, "You did it." And he goes, "You were fantastic." And now I take that as every time I was going to do something going forward, if I got that feeling like that I was going to be nauseous, that meant to me, I got to do it because I knew I wasn't going to die, right? So if I knew I might feel like I'm going to die in my brain, but I knew that I could overcome it because if I could do that, I could do anything. And So yeah, a lot of people don't know that, like, massive fear of even being seen in public spaces.
Yeah, and that honestly, like hearing that story, that's super inspirational. Because I mean, like again, no one would assume that. Hey, I'm on like the Meryl Dennis show doing my thing, and before it's like I would rather like, nah, just give me that F. Hey, teacher, like I ain't speaking. I'm not saying nothing. But again, I feel
Mhm.
when we're in different environments, it brings out like a certain side of us that we didn't know that was there. So I
Of
feel like for
course.
you, you found that. And again, it's also finding people that believe in you. And I feel like just see
Mhm.
some a potential that again you never notice. And for myself, that I've had that for the last 5 years, whether it's like just improving the presentation of this show. Like before like 2022, I wasn't doing this segment. There was no such thing
Mhm.
as the hot seat until one day a group of guys just came up to me and said like you need to like structure your show a little bit better. Like it's not that it's bad already, but it's like if you had like maybe like a segment here, a little talking point there, then it
Mhm.
gets a better flow. And now like it makes everything feel so seamless when we have these conversations. So again, I feel
Of
like
course.
there's people in your life that will come around and just give you a push. And sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
they give the push and it's not like, oh, I'm gonna be on that journey with you like forever. Like some people may be on your track and on your journey as you go, but some of them will give you the push to really find something within you for the betterment of just
Yes.
like moving forward.
Yeah. And it was my boss. Like, the fact that my boss saw it in me and I didn't see it, right? And that he invested in me, I was like, okay, well, if he's going to spend all this money, I better go and not mess it up, right? And it was probably the single scariest thing. Oh, and probably the second after that was when I was first on the Marilyn Dennis show, because they recorded it live, right? Like they actually no, they didn't even record it. They aired it live. What am I talking about? It was on live
Hmm.
television. And the first time I went on, I thought, oh my God, I'm either going to vomit or, can I swear on here?
We're gonna keep this a family show, but I can only imagine what you're saying. I can only imagine what you're gonna probably say.
No, I was going to say, I was either going to vomit or crap my pants, but I was going to use another word. And I didn't do either of those. And then, oh, sorry about that. And I
It's
didn't
all
do
good.
either of those. And then, yeah, they had me come back like 3 or 4 more times and then had me be as a regular. So, yeah. I,
I mean, that's great. That's absolutely amazing. Like, that's such a fantastic opportunity as a whole. So, again, to see that transformation where it's like, I didn't even want to say nothing in high school. Cause again, I get it. When I was in high school, there's like, it's so much easier to rather like talk to like thousands or like millions of folks. But if you put like five of your closest friends and like you were to
oh,
give a
that's,
speech, it becomes a roast session.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, 100%. And then we also feel that pressure that, oh my God, they know me and they're gonna call me out and they're gonna know that, you know, that I'm not an expert. Like, I'm sure you've had so many people on here who struggle with imposter syndrome. And so that was a big thing for me to get over. Right. I still struggle with it a little bit. And I've been doing
Hey,
this for like
listen, Sam.
almost 25 years.
That I honestly, at this point, there's three common things about this show. One, I'm gonna be my goofy self. Number two, we're gonna be one of the best shows on Love Bay Radio. I'm sorry, I have to say it up right now. And number three,
Awesome.
every guest I have has imposter syndrome, including myself. We are a family of imposter syndrome recipients. So don't
Yes.
even stress.
Yep. 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 Totally. Totally. But that's what keeps us
100%.
going, right? That's what keeps us going. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like if you get too comfortable, then that's when you mess up. Because now you're not really paying attention. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of fear, a little bit of that keeps you on your toes, right?
100%. All right. Going on to this final question here for the hot seat segment. What is your personal safe room? So, what is a safe space? It could be
Mm.
physical, it could be mental, that allows you to be your authentic self.
It is with my headset in the gym, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I put music on too loud because I got my hearing test. So this is what happens in your 50s. You go get your ears tested, and they're like, "Oh, now you've lost." So I've already lost a little bit of hearing, and 3 of my 7 different frequencies or something. Anyways, I had this whole hearing test in a silent room. And he's like, you might want to keep the music down a little bit, but I don't.
Mm.
So I have my headphone on and I'm in, and I'm bopping and I'm working out, and I don't, when I'm at the gym, I do not socialize, right? Like I'll kind of look up and give someone a nod, where other people, like when I used to go to the gym when the girls were younger and I was still with my ex at the time, and we would get up at 5:30 in the morning and go to the gym, and he would be chatting away and I would be like focused. I want to do my stuff, I want to get out. And so that is I don't want people coming in and ruining my groove. So if anybody sees me in the gym, don't be like, don't take it as offense. I'll say hi, but then I'm just doing my thing because it's I'm very protective of that time.
Yeah, I totally get it. Some folks, it's just like when they're in the gym, some are ready to just like kind of get into a certain zone, lock in. But it's also a way to even just detox as well. Maybe you're working a 9 to 5, or maybe you're an entrepreneur, you're working a very fast paced environment. And sometimes going to the gym, it's like, I understand I just talked to a bunch of people. I ain't trying to do that here. I want to
Yeah,
just
right.
isolate it.
That's the thing. All I do is coach people all day, which I love. I love that job, right? But I need some time for me to so I can recharge while I'm awake, not just when I'm sleeping. I need to do that when I'm awake, right? So yes. And that's also often a time where I'm not just listening to music. I might be listening to podcasts like yours, or I'm listening to audiobooks. Like I'm also, filling my brain with good stuff while I'm focusing on, on myself, right?
100%. I do have a follow-up question to that. Like, is there any particular like artist or genre you're listening to when you're in
Oh,
that zone?
it really has to. I mean, I'm at heart, my favorite is house music. And for those who are my age, they
Really?
understand. Yeah, because when I was younger, I mean, the big thing, I'm in my 50s. So all of us, when we were 15 to 20, there was all ages. And that's a time that unfortunately this generation, like, the Gen Zs, they're not going to get that. It was such an amazing time, and house music was really big. And there's a certain, I don't know. I call, so that's my OG, but then after that would be 90s R&B for sure, and then reggae, soca. I pretty much like most things except country. Absolutely not. People are trying to convince me to like country, and I will not do it. I will not. I don't even let my girls play it in the house. My older daughter tried to play it, and I was like, "What is that?" She's like, "Mom, it's not really country." I was like, that's country. There's twang. We're not doing twang here. Anyways, yeah, yeah,
That's fair. That's fair. Hey, listen, like everyone has their musical taste.
yeah, yeah. I'm just
Mm,
very vocal. I do not like country. Absolutely not.
okay,
No.
that's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, that wraps up the hot seat segment. That was super entertaining. I love it. We're just getting into it. Um, I see Shon in the comments saying a little rascal flats ain't
I
never heard.
know, I
No way.
know, I know, I know. You sound like my kid. I know. I just can't do it. I don't know. And maybe it is my generation. I don't know. Maybe it's my generation. I have no idea.
I
But
mean, listen, again, it is what it is. But again,
yeah.
for those who are just coming in, you're listening to the Safe Room here on Love Bay Radio. We're here with Sam, the founder of Sam Core Trainer. We just wrapped up our hot seat segment. Before we get into our main questions, I feel like this is the final time I'm going to be saying this. I've been saying this week after week after week. But again, in the next 2 days, July 12th, happen at the Humber Valley United Church. I will be a MC / host for the Be the Voice Youth Summit. So I'm super excited for that. It's going to be in a wonderful time. There's going to be food and beverages. There's going to be live African dances. We're giving away some nice merch, and we're giving away scholarships as well to students. So again, you
Oh,
want to come
sweet.
out to that. It's going to be a wonderful time. And again, if I'm going to be there, you should be popping out because like anywhere I go, it's going to be vibes. It's going to be anything but entertainment. So again, July 12th, make sure to get your tickets. The ticket sales are ending soon. So you want to RSVP as soon as possible. July 12th, starting at 2 to 5 p.m. You don't want to miss out. It is the event of the summer. I'll be talking more details on what to expect. But again, let's get back to the main conversation. Sam, Now,
Yes.
again, going through your IG, seeing all the stuff that you do, it's incredible. Whether it's just like your
Thank
own
you.
fitness journey to even just the stuff that you do with flip flops and hot flashes, high heels and hot flashes. Like, it's very like motivational. It's very empowering. So I want to start off like being someone who helps a lot of women who are like 40 years or older with all the physical, emotional, and physiological changes that they go through. Just how did your story personally led to everything that has transpired so far, becoming a menopause and midlife health coach?
Mhm. Well, when I started my career 24 years ago um, in fitness, I specialized in pre and postnatal because that was the stage of life I was in. I had two little babies, and so it just made sense to me that I would, because I struggled with um, not putting on weight during pregnancy. I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't get my my after baby body. I didn't get my body back, and I was like, nobody's talking about this. No, why isn't anybody saying it? And there's a whole thing with abdominal separation and all kinds of things. So I started learning a lot and going, oh, okay. If I don't know this, and I'm a fitness professional, I'm sure the layman doesn't know this, right? And it seems to be that's the same narrative now that's happening with menopause as well. So I decided to specialize in pre and postnatal, and so my focus was is that I was helping women. I owned a company called Core Expectations. So at the time, it was the biggest in-home personal training company in the GTA that delivered personal trainers and nutritionists and massage therapists to pregnant women and new moms in their homes. So it's very much a like VIP service, right? Because it wasn't cheap, but it really was to help focus, get women um, uh, really strong and fit during their pregnancy, because the healthier their pregnancy and the stronger their pregnancy, the better their recovery. So we'd help them get strong in pregnancy and help them recover postpartum. And then I sold that in, I would say about 8 years ago. No, about 10 years ago. 10 years ago or 12. Anyways, I'm losing time. Mid 40s, early 40s, I sold it. And then I decided that, I was tired of managing people because it was a big job because I had a big team behind me. And so I was like, but I'll still see my clients. So then I was doing that for a while, and I was still doing in home. And then a light bulb went off one day because I woke up at 5 in the morning, and it was the middle of winter, to go to my client's house. And I got there, and she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I can't make it. I should have canceled. I'm not well." And I was just like, I was enraged. And I thought, you know what? I'm sick and tired of trading my time for money. There's got to be something better. So then because Meta is listening to us on our phones all the time, there was this coach who came out of nowhere and started sending me DMs going, "Do you want to take your business online?" I'm like, "Take my business online? Like, I don't even know what that means." And this happened about a year and a half before COVID. So I hired this coach, and I transitioned my entire business online. I said to all my clients, I'm not going to do in person anymore. I'm not doing it. And so all of them transitioned with me. And yeah, I started my business online, and then a year after, COVID hit. But I was already established online, where everybody else was scrambling, especially in the fitness, because everybody did in person, right? Like, online was just starting. And so that's when my business really took off. But then it was like, as COVID started, my body started to change. And I was like, what is happening? Because I wasn't like most people. I was an anomaly. I ordered a bunch of equipment at my home. I set up my own little mini gym at home. I was working out regularly. So were my kids. We were eating really well. And then I was noticing that, like, why am I gaining weight? Like, what is happening? Like, I was being even more disciplined because I knew, especially during those 2 years, because we were in quarantine, I would have to be more disciplined. And then, of course, again, Meta, again, listening to me on the phone, starts sending me information about menopause. And I'm like menopause? Could that be it? And so I started doing research, and there was literally like light bulbs going off in my head. And I'm like, holy crap, this is menopause. And then I started asking my clients, they're like, yeah, that's me too, and me too. And so then I took a menopause course, and then everything really then blew up. Um, and I don't know if you know this, but statistically, this year, 2025, they say there's 1 billion women worldwide who are in some stage of menopause. So it's a massive market, right? Which we can get into about that too. But I feel like my career has always transitioned as I have transitioned. Because it doesn't make sense for me to still do pre and postnatal when I'm in menopause. Like I'm not, my kids are old, they're 20 and 23, right? I'm past that. But I've always moved my business as I've changed because it only makes sense because as I'm learning about myself, I apply that to my clients. Um, and so this only made sense that I was going through perimenopause. So then I started to learn about it and then I could relate and I could say these things, especially on social media, but like, me too. And the biggest one was when I said, I put a post up saying, I'm a personal trainer and I gained weight during menopause. And so many other fitness people were like, oh my God, me too. Because when you're in the fitness industry, there's a huge amount of pressure to look a certain way all the time. Our bodies aren't allowed to change. And if we get pregnant, we have to be right back into. So it's a very toxic industry. I'm going to say that right now. And so because I was honest about my experience, I think that's also what helped with my business. And people trust me because I don't give my clients anything that I wouldn't do, like burpees. I mean, unless they ask for them.
That's fair. That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So it just kind of happened organically.
Yeah, honestly, then like that's amazing. There was a line that you said that like your business transition when you started to transition. That is
Yeah.
so powerful because I feel like
Mhm.
just in general, a lot of entrepreneurs like that is something that happens to them a lot, but they will never even like say it or even word it the way that you did.
Mm.
And knowing that again, you went through that stage at first where it's like, okay, like I have the pre post natal, is it?
Yeah, pre and postnatal. Yeah, that's when I started my career 24 years ago.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
started
So
there.
pregnant and postpartum. Yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually, you sold that off, and then you were still trying to like transition, go through there, and then you launching, going into 2019, going virtual, and again making that switch before like COVID again. Yeah, that was really when everyone started to like having to make that switch and pivot. You were ahead of the game, and then
Hmm.
noticing that wait a minute, like I'm exercising consistently, but I'm still getting this like I'm still gaining weight. And now it's becoming like, oh, like I think I might have menopause. And then still getting that feedback from your clients, being open and being transparent is like, yeah, like you realize I need to shift. So that way, like I can talk to my clients and give them exactly like what I'm experiencing too. I don't want to give them something that's like, oh, you can't relate or you can't connect to. And I think that's super important just in general, because for anyone, again, like you mentioned, personal training or fitness, it is a toxic industry. And I've had a couple people who, have come on the show. They do like fitness training as well. And they say the exact same thing. That's like, you have to look a certain way. There becomes like a certain image that you need to uphold in terms of like if you're like a female, and again, like if you're pregnant, once you're done, like you gotta get that body back, or like while during the pregnancy, you have to maintain that. And then if you don't, it's like all of a sudden you get this very mixed bag of reactions, or just like, oh, like I'm not sure if like I want to tune in with this person anymore. It's just like I don't know how to feel. It's like very mixed emotions. But just hearing your story personally, again, it's so inspirational because I know there's lots of women who go through menopause, and just being able to even be open with that alone is a
Yeah.
huge thing. So for you to build this community where it's not only like accepted, not in like a negative way, but more of like we realize what the case is, but also learning to love ourselves, learn to grow and educate ourselves to just be able to be better, to again find that consistency with working out and exercise, but also just like again knowing a little bit more. I think that's super important. Again, sometimes you don't have those type of circles to build that level of knowledge and sharing and just being
Yeah.
transparent.
Yeah. And that's really important, especially now, I feel like during menopause, because there's such limited information. Now, it like I said, there's a big market, but we're just scratching the surface just because most doctors don't know about it. They're not educated. Like they know about menopause, but they're not educated on how to help or treat. That's why there's it's average wait time for someone to see a menopause doctor, like someone who specializes in menopause, is 6 months to a year, which is ridiculous because women are
Wow.
suffering now, right? But I could go on and on about the lack of support for women when it comes to women's health, and everything is based on men primarily, which is really, bothersome as well. But, this is the time, if any, where women really need to come together in community because it can feel so isolating. It almost reminds me of when I was pregnant and I had a baby. I was the first out of all my friends, and even though I know people have babies all the time, otherwise, there would not be a planet Earth with people walking around. But if I didn't have a support system, it can feel very isolating, and it very much mirrors menopause because when you're going through it and your hormones are crashing left, right, and center. One minute you're happy, the next day you want to kill your husband. The next minute you're energetic, the next minute you don't want to get out of bed. But nobody's validating your experience and you're not hearing other people share and understand. You feel like you're going out of your mind. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I was like, I just need to be very transparent about my experience and say, yep, I'm a personal trainer and I gained weight. But you know what? That doesn't mean I'm unhealthy. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person. That doesn't mean I'm lazy. That doesn't mean I'm undisciplined. Like all of the shame that is associated with your body changing in the fitness industry is actually quite wild. And I'm being sarcastic because it really bothers me because our job as fitness professionals and health professionals is to inspire people and motivate and support people to move. But if you shame them, then you can't get mad if they don't move, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I could go on and on about that too. I'm
No,
very,
and
I'm
like,
very, I'm very passionate about it.
and then as you should, honestly, I feel like you would not be doing what you're doing if there wasn't a passion. If you are someone who believes in something and know that you can make a huge impact, then you need to have a passion. It's kind of like going back to what you mentioned about imposter syndrome. If you're not scared and like, I don't know if you're cut for what you're meant to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if it's too easy, I'm like, you're kind of missing something, right? Fear is a good thing. Means that you're growing and you're going outside your comfort zone. That's a very good thing.
100%. So, yeah, my next question is kind of piggybacking what I mentioned before. Just like, why do you think it's important for yourself to try to help women with dealing with menopause, not only just to accept it, but to live positively through their experience? And obviously, you're also learning as you go. So, it's not to
Yeah.
even insinuate, like, oh, I have like all the answers. Like, no, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I just learn from what
Yep.
I pick up. Maybe it's through my clients, maybe it's through other
Yep.
people. But I guess just from what you've accumulated, what is something that, you try to dish on to other women who maybe might be discovering for the first time and just how to accept dealing with menopause in a positive light and just being happy to loving
Yeah.
themselves and loving their bodies.
Okay. So that can be a tough one. So, yes, self love is important and all that stuff, but we also have to be careful when someone is really having a hard time going, well, come on, you really should be positive and just be lucky and be it's a journey because women in general, I'm not going to say for all women, I don't know whoever's listening right here. See, even Val saying this amazing topic, we need more education on menopause because it's very much lacking.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of us women who are going through menopause, perimenopause, or whatever stage of menopause you're going through, we were the OGs of diet culture, right? So we were the original 1,200 calorie diets, the cabbage soup diet, the grapefruit diet, the zone diet, cardio, 20-minute workout on my lunch hour. Like we were raised with this as part of our culture from when we were like tweens, let's say. So it's really difficult as we're going through menopause when we have so many metabolic changes that are happening, even when we don't even change anything. So we haven't stopped exercising, we're still eating well, we're managing our stress, and all of a sudden our body is changing. And the diet culture, the diet industry is still saying, don't blame menopause. It's because you're doing this and this and this and this. It's really hard for us to say, okay, but you need to be happy and be positive about it. So first of all, what I do when I work with clients is I validate their experience, right? People come to me, they say, I'm pissed off. I feel ignored. I feel dismissed, but I also feel sad. I feel shameful. There's a lot of feelings that we're taking because all the outside is still telling us that we're not good enough. Doesn't matter what we do, right? And we're trying our best and we're doing all these things and we're still getting gaslit left, right, even by our own health professionals. So my goal is, number one, like I said, it's really important that I share my own lived experience so people can see themselves in me. That's first of all, because that's how we build trust. I can talk at you, but if I say certain things, but I'm not doing them, and then I'm very much a hypocrite. And I do believe karma is a thing, and my business wouldn't be as successful as it is, because I do give people a safe space to share their experience. Like I say, I validate, but I always work with where the woman is now. Okay. So, and that can look very different. And that's why I work one-on-one with my clients, right? Because, you can even have twins who are both going through menopause, but their experiences can be completely different because hormones are funny. And I'm being sarcastic, but hormones literally are the puppeteer and we're the puppets. So when they're good, so are we. But when they're not, and they're crashing left, right, and center, it can really, really impact everything. So not just physically, but mentally, emotionally.
Yeah, it
Right.
definitely
And
kicks into
so,
gear for sure. I just
yeah,
want to just comment
100%.
what Val said right here. Said that she's been going through menopause for over 16 years and still suffers from panic attacks and anxieties. Like you mentioned, for certain folks, for some women, again, not to generalize all women, they have different experiences, and sometimes it's based on like hormonal hormones and behaviors, and you never know. And again, like you mentioned, it's about you try to like validate like what they're going through. It's not to say like, oh well, like you have to think positive. Like I'm glad that you correct me again, because obviously like I may not know everything too. So the whole point of this
Of course.
conversation is not to
Of
say that
course.
like, oh, like Shon knows exactly what he's talking about, guys. I say a lot of stupid stuff. Okay. I am
You're
not
not
perfect.
saying You're not saying anything. You're not saying stupid stuff. And I appreciate the fact that you're admitting that you don't know, because you probably know this much and I might know this much, but there's so much more that hasn't even been researched yet because unfortunately it's women's health. I mean, I would say fortunate for us because I personally, I'd rather be a woman than not. Okay, just for me. But unfortunately, though, we get the short end of the stick when it comes to healthcare research, right? And this impacts us when we are trying to go through and figure out what is going on. Like Val's been suffering with panic attacks and anxiety for 16 years, right? And I'm willing to bet that she has been gaslit left, right, and center when she's trying to get help, right? And it might have taken her a long time for them to even correlate the two. That the menopause is something that's exacerbating because hormones do impact everything. Okay, we have estrogen receptors in every part of our body, our muscles, our bones, our organs, our brain. And so when estrogen starts crashing, then yes, we're at a higher risk of developing heart disease, osteoporosis, diabetes, Alzheimer's. But if doctors are going, well, it's just mostly you're aging. No, now you're totally dismissing my lived experience because women age very differently than men, 100%. Men do go through andropause, which is sort of like a women's menopause, but it's not nearly as severe and rapid like women. It's a little bit more gradual for men, right? And I'm willing to bet men have much more support than women. Right. So I think it is. So my goal when I do work with women is to get them to a point where they're feeling confident in themselves. What I say to women is, you don't have to love yourself right now. That's okay. But you better well respect yourself. So how do you treat someone that you respect? Right? When it comes to your food, when it comes to your movement, when it comes to what time you go to bed. Right? So look at it from that way, as opposed to you should do this and don't do this and all this other stuff. We don't need to be talked at anymore. We just need to be heard. We need to be validated. We need to be supported and given strategies that we can work within our lifestyle. And so if I can get women feeling confident in their bodies, and once they start feeling confident, they're feeling good, and they're feeling okay, I'm accomplishing something, then that good feeling starts to domino and they start adding other things, right? And then all of a sudden, the woman who came to me was crying and saying, oh my God, I feel this, I'm fat and I don't like myself, I don't feel sexy. All of a sudden, like 6 months later, she's like, you know what? I'm feeling great. I'm having sex again with my husband. Yeah, I might have only lost 5 pounds. I wanted to lose 20, but it doesn't matter now because now I'm good with me, right? Because I'm not going to let society dictate and tell me that just because I'm in a larger body, I'm no longer attractive or worthy.
Right. Absolutely, 100%. Honestly, I should have said at the beginning of this show that, like, guys, you should have got your notebooks out and your pens because there's gonna be a lot of gems being
Mhm.
dropped in this conversation. And I even see Chanel commented saying women's health is most definitely negated.
Yes, it is, unfortunately.
So
Unfortunately.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely 100%. My next question, I kind of want to tie it back to like the one I just asked you. So obviously, again, there's a lot of women that may go through this phase or whatever with menopause. Like they will go through these things, and I want to target specifically like women entrepreneurs, like female entrepreneurs, because on top of having to deal with everything when it comes to like menopause, maybe there's someone, a female entrepreneur, that's like trying to run a business. And like you gave so much good examples of like different factors. Like, let's say you go to the doctor, you tell the doctor, like, I'm not feeling well, like I'm just going through this. Like, I feel sad. I don't feel like I feel depressed. That's not a word I don't like to use a lot, but like, I'm just not feeling
Hmm.
myself. And
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
sometimes like Western doctors will go off like, "Oh, you're just age," and like it's nothing too serious. But then again, like, how do you add in that extra factor of like, well, like I'm a business owner now, like I'm a businesswoman, and I'm trying to do like my 9 to 5, or like I'm doing my day-to-day task, and now it's like I have to deal with like menopause now. So even for yourself, just like, have you had like certain clients come to you and like they've been business owners or
Yep.
entrepreneurs, and
Yep.
just like what have they shared? And before you answer that,
Yeah.
I see that Val also commented, I've been in the ER over 20 times thinking I was having a heart attack until I figured out I'm going through menopause. I've learned to do deep breathing when I have an attack, and that helped her tremendously.
That's great, Val. Yeah, heart palpitations are very much a common thing in menopause that nobody warns you about. Like, I feel like once we hit the age of 40, I think generally family doctors should have like a checklist. Okay, now you've hit 40. Now you might start noticing, because again, everybody can go through menopause at different stages. So it's really too bad that it took you so long, 20 times to finally. And this is what we're hoping to change for next, like our kids, right? That they won't have to suffer or suffer as much as we are. But so going to your question about entrepreneurs. So first of all, I just want to say every single woman will go through menopause. It's a part of aging. The average age of menopause is 52. And the just in case anybody's not doesn't know, the actual definition of menopause is the last day of the 12th month of no menses. So no bleeding for 12 months. You've officially hit menopause. All the years leading up to it, when things start to change, is called perimenopause, and that can start anytime between your mid 30s up until you hit menopause. So perimenopause can last between 3 to 15 years. And they're just starting to talk about that, right? And as far as entrepreneurship, so I've got a client right now who's also a coach, and she coaches women who struggle with ADHD. But she also understands that she has her own issues. And one thing I've been a coach for a long time is that coaches need coaches, just like therapists need therapists, because we spend a lot of time coaching other people. But then how about us? And running a business, I need coach, and I need support. And so there's a lot of similarities in the struggles that she feels right now, the pressure that she feels that she needs to hustle and make money, right? Because statistically, they say that 10% of women in Canada will leave their jobs in menopause because of the fact they just
Mm.
can't manage. Either they're not being supported by most companies don't offer any support at all, right? They're starting to, there was a couple of companies where I've done some presentations where it was kind of part of their healthcare benefits that they would have a presenter come on, but they don't have any menopause support, right? And that's what we're trying to get to have change in at least our local government, to give some support for women who, if they're really struggling badly with vasomotor symptoms, so like hot flashes and night sweats, that they should be able to go home, so they're not like ripping off their clothes in the middle of a board meeting, right?
Hmm.
Because some symptoms can be quite extreme, or like Val here, feel like literally having a panic attack. How is she supposed to function at work? Right. So, so with the entrepreneurs, so I feel like, no one is suffering more. When you're working for the man, you feel like you have to show up and be in your suit and be all cute and whatever and do all those things and appear that everything is okay. But at the same time, you've got someone who's an entrepreneur who, yes, we might have the luxury of working from home, but we have to motivate ourselves because there's nobody there to say, come and get your paycheck. But we also know inherently, if we don't show up, that because we're always looking for a client, then no one's going to hire us. So now how do we stay motivated like we did before when we're also, one day we can have a lot of energy, the next day we want to cry in bed and, and just eat chocolate, right? So it's again, I think it still goes back to validating their experience. And also because I've gone through perimenopause, I'm now postmenopausal, and also I'm an entrepreneur. Me having that lived experience, I can empathize with these clients, right? And more often than not, I tell women to slow down. Women think that they'll come to me and they'll be like, okay, I know I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And I'll sit there and I'll be like, who told you to do that? I didn't tell you to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But we come from a hustle culture, especially in the entrepreneur space. Hustle, boss babe is very much a big thing in women's entrepreneurship. And all of that language drives me crazy because we're just adding more pressure. Yes, of course, we need to have a strategy. We need to have a plan, but we also can't give ourselves heart attacks, okay? Because then if we're dead, we're not going to have a business. So that's not a really good strategy. But it's also come with years of me being an entrepreneur and understanding, with a lot of things, a lot of times less is more. And so when we can give ourselves grace and we can focus on taking care of ourselves, then our output is going to be much better. Because we also know too in the entrepreneur space that multitasking does not work. Okay, it's been proven time and time again. And I don't think it's it's not a surprise that as we're in 2025, there's so much more information about health, but we're sicker than ever. Mm-hmm. So I think it really is a combination of so many things.
Yeah. Guys, I'm just listening. I'm taking in everything because like it's absolutely like important, like I feel like just everything that's being said, I hope everyone who's listening, you're taking something from it. Cause again, that's what we try to do when we have these conversations. It's not just, it's informative and like it's open-ended. I'm hoping that people take something away that they can, apply or really like use to grow for themselves. And honestly, Samantha, just like Sam, I know I didn't want to say Samantha. I don't know, maybe just for me it's natural, but Sam,
Samantha?
yeah, like definitely that's super important. And just to go back to the comment section, Val also said I could write a book on my experience going through menopause. I think I experienced every symptom there is. Thank God I'm in a better place right now, and that's beautiful to hear.
And can I also comment? I don't know, just, part of my business is, you were talking, I don't know if you're going to ask me about high heels and hot flashes or flip-flops and hot flashes, but.
Okay, so
is that
I was about to say, okay. Are you trying to read my mind right now, Sam? Okay, that was literally my next thing. So you know what? Let's get right into it. I do want to talk about that because obviously, like again, in doing everything that you do with the coaching and giving the advice, obviously, like you've created some amazing moments with high heels and hot flashes, flip flops and hot flashes. Just where did that started, and just what is the intention for that as well?
Yeah, so high heels and hot flashes came out of, 2 years of being quarantined and during COVID. And my assistant coach at the time, I was like, you know what? I want to do an in-person event. I have no idea what it looks like. I don't know, but I just feel like we need to be in person again because like we were all holed up in our homes. And then she just says to me, she goes, high heels and hot flashes. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, that's a great name. And I was like, oh my God, it is. So right away I went and I bought the URL. I was like, high heels and hot flashes. And so my girlfriend, my best friend Nadine, she owns a factory here. She owns a beautiful, socially conscious lingerie line called Mayana Janvier here in Toronto in the Junction. And I said, can I hold an event at your factory? And she said, sure, because it's quite large. So I just rallied in a bunch of people that I knew. And I was like, could you just be a speaker? Because, you're my friend. I don't have any money to pay you, but I really just have this idea. And they're like, oh my God, yes. And so, anyways, our first High Heels and Hot Flashes was born, and it was amazing. And then we've continued to do it. We've had 5 sold out events. We do them every October because at the beginning we did them twice a year, and then we decided we're going to do it once a year. And it really is and we do it in October because it's World Menopause Month. But now it's come to a point where it's strictly to focus on amplifying the voices of women of color in the menopause space. Because here's the thing about menopause, or I would say most spaces, all the people who are talking about it, 85% of them are white women, which is, I was going to say, it's not fine. It's understandable because that is what we see in most spaces in advertising and marketing and all, especially on social media. So I decided I want to be the Black woman to talk about this from a different perspective. And as I've learned, also, racialized women have different experiences in menopause than white women. So then why aren't we talking about that? Because if I'm going to listen to a bunch of white women talk about menopause, I can't relate because I don't understand where you're coming from. But if I listen to a Black woman, it's like, now I can see myself and I can understand, and you hear me. Because statistically, for example, Black women, we suffer from vasomotor symptoms, so hot flashes and night sweats, longer, more severely than white women, and typically a year longer and sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff like that a lot of people don't know. So that's what our High Heels and Hot Flashes is about. And it's really about, like I said, amplifying the voices of women of color and creating an inclusive space and a community of women who can come together and be very open and share and learn. And so it's really, really great. And then from that, I also decided to run my first retreat earlier this year. I ran it in Costa Rica, and that's called Flip Flops and Hot Flashes. And that is, again, focused on bringing women together who are transitioning at some point of perimenopause and menopause. And we offered like sound healing, and there was daily yoga. And it was just really, it was a great sisterhood. And Tracy Moore from City Line ended up coming. I invited her as a guest because it was shortly after she got let go from her show, City Line, after 20 years. And she went public about it. And I just sent her a private message. I said, I'd like to invite you. And she took me up on my offer. And it was a great experience. So I've decided to do them annually. So I'm doing another one in January of 2026, going back to Costa Rica.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And, again,
Thanks.
like being able to say that you've done this, and again, you were able to kind of put something together, and then people were just like, I can't pay you, or like, because like that is like the common thing when you're like running an event. Some people have like that crazy. It's like I want to do this, but also I want to pay you. Like I don't feel like it's
Of
right to do
course. Of
something,
course.
So like
Yes.
it's important to have that, but it's that fear saying like, oh boy, like if I have to pay them, like, are they just gonna say no? If it's like, oh, I just don't have the budget, and like if I just be transparent, because again, some of us were in like tough situations, and it's like I
Of
don't know, like, do
course.
I try like getting sponsorship, or maybe it's just like I be upfront, like, listen, like this is my first time doing something like this. I don't have like the money to pay you, and sometimes there's people, and I get it. There are some folks that they have like a moral code where it's like if I would not do anything unless I'm getting paid. I
Yep. I
completely
totally get
get
it.
it.
Me
But I
too.
feel like sometimes it is nice to know it's like, you know what? Like I've been where you've been. And sometimes like you just need
Yeah.
a start and a push, and to be able to create these two amazing, ideas with with high heels and hot flashes, and then flip flops and hot flashes, and to see it transpire to now it's become a annual, event for you and for women of color that's dealing with menopause. It's very inspirational and empowering.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very proud of it. And yes, I totally agree. Like, but I also feel like I was just lucky with the timing because we were just coming out of COVID. And so people were desperately just wanting to get together. And I literally just asked like my closest friends. I was like, so I asked my naturopath who I've known forever. I asked this other woman who I've known for quite a while. She's been in the menopause space way longer than me. And I was like, I can give you food, and and they're like, Sam, it's fine, because they believed in the message and the community and what I was trying to do. Right. So, and they know, like, I'm not somebody, I don't believe in free labor. I don't believe in any of that. But this was just something, it was just coming out of COVID. So since then, all our future events, our speakers all get paid 100%. Um, but it was just this because I didn't even know what it was going to be, but then it ended up being amazing, and I was like, oh my god, we need to replicate this, right?
Yeah, and like 100%. Now that you see that it's created a huge impact, now it's like, okay, like now that we're doing this, like I guarantee if like if we were to like even reach out for a sponsorship, you have those numbers, you have those,
Yes,
those statistics to show folks what it's all like. It's not something that was like, oh, we had a couple folks like, no, like we did it at this like big venue, like we went to Costa Rica, we did this, and like we got an amazing amount of feedback, testimonials that are going to back it up. So I mean, that's great. And again, like I think for anyone that is trying to build an event or do something that's like more annual, like it's hard. Like again, like I'll tell you, okay, I'll share some details later on about what I have coming up, but I don't want to speak too much on that. But I definitely understand the pressure of trying to do something for the first time and
yeah,
then trying to replicate it and knowing if people are going to continue to come back to it. But it's good to know that you've
hmm
market that and you've built that success. So that's great to hear. I want to go on actually now to our role play scenario. Now, honestly, I
oh,
feel like this one low
okay.
key is like you said everything. So I don't even know if like the role play is
Oh,
just, but we're gonna try it out anyway. So
okay,
let's just pretend that like I'm not me. Like this is not Sean. You're
okay,
talking to
you're not Sean.
somebody completely different. You know what? I'm for the fun of it. How about you give me a name? Just any name. Like, we'll do a female name just to fit the context of the conversation.
Oh, a female, Lisa. You're Lisa.
Lisa? Okay. Okay. So I'm Lisa, and let's say I found you or I approached you on social media, maybe like at an event, or maybe let's
Yeah.
recreate our like little engagement of the first time we met
Oh
at
yeah,
the
that's
New
right.
York Civic
Okay.
Center. Let's try to recreate that, and like let's say it's just myself trying to know more about the work that you do, because I definitely want folks to get a good glimpse of just like how you like really talk about the work that you do, just how
Yeah.
you can help them in some manner. So let's just try it out for the fun of it.
Sure. Sure. Okay.
All right, perfect, perfect. Hey Sam, my name is Lisa, and I'm curious of just of the work that you do. I saw you sit in the corner. It's a lot going on right now at this trade show, and I mean, I like to talk to people and get to know them a little bit better. But just tell me a little bit more about what you do.
Well, I'm a virtual menopause health coach, and I help women 40 plus get strong and healthy so they can feel confident from the inside out as they age.
Wow, that's very interesting. You mentioned menopause, and honestly, I feel so ashamed to say this, but like I'm actually like going through my own like personal journey with menopause. I guess I wanted to ask you, just like, do you find it common for many like women to approach you and like be open about that, or do you feel more women are just kind of like resentful and they don't share it as often?
Actually, you want to know something which is really cool? I would say the last 3 times I went out dancing, I had at least one woman come up to me and say, I follow you on social media and I want to thank you so much for what you do.
Oh,
Because now you
really?
make me feel, yep, yep. I was on a boat cruise at Canada Day, and this woman came up to me and she started crying.
Wow.
And she's like, she goes, I thought it was going out of my mind and I follow you. And she goes, and you just make me feel so heard. And I really, really appreciate you. And she's like, and then we took a couple selfies together. Yeah. And
Okay,
that's
that's
that's why when stuff like that happens, I'm like, okay, again, this just confirms I'm doing the right thing, especially
okay.
during the hard times when, because I'm an entrepreneur and things aren't smooth all the time. Clients aren't falling at my feet all the time. Not that say they ever were, but you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of this fantasy that things are consistent with entrepreneurship, and absolutely not. It's like it's gonna be high and then it can crash. And then high and then can crash, right? So it's when I hear stuff like that that I'm like, okay, yep. Again, just validates everything I'm doing is right.
That's amazing. That's super amazing. Honestly, like hearing that, like it makes me curious. Just like, what do you offer? Like any services? Are you just
Yep.
like someone that like, if I were to like contact with you, like we would have like one-on-one conversations? Because I definitely want to like, I want to feel happy. I want to feel happy about myself, but I also
Mhm.
want to know that I understand the situation that I'm in right now, and like that's okay. Just because like, you know, I don't know exactly what's gonna happen next. I want to know that like everything's going to be fine. So I'm very curious in terms of just like what do you offer?
Yeah, so I offer one-on-one coaching and or group coaching, but I think it's just best if if you go to my calendar, you can find it on my Instagram or like often give me your phone. I'll put my Instagram in it. Send me a message. Like that happens too, right? So send me a message and let's book a call. No obligation at all, but just so then because we're in a social space right now, it can give you some time that we will meet virtually. We'll meet on Zoom and then I can see, I will talk to you. You can ask questions. You can ask me questions. You can interview me too to see if you think I'd be the best fit to be your coach. But it's really an opportunity for us to get to know each other and see if my program will help you.
All right. Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate that. I'm definitely going to give you my phone now and then we can exchange contacts. But
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. This is something that has made me happy for the rest of my day. I know it's like very hectic right now, but I feel happy. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
No problem. All right. Scene. Yeah. How was that? Was I okay?
Yeah, you were good. You were good, Lisa. You played a good Lisa.
Okay,
Yes.
good, good, good.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. All right. Again, for those who have tuned in for this entire conversation, thank you. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for everyone in the comment section. You're listening to the Safe Room here on Love Bay Radio. Here with Sam, we've had a tremendous, tremendous conversation from top to
Aw.
bottom. Absolutely love it. But we're gonna end things on a fun note. Usually, this is like our fun activity portion. Again, for anyone who knows, like this is something that I usually come up like last minute. This week's
Oh.
no different.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Nothing too crazy. We're gonna do a simple game of would you rather, but I tried to make it
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit of like okay, fitness slash nutrition edition.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
don't
I
ask me
mean,
about you don't ask me about burpees because you already know the answer. Okay.
okay, fair, fair, fair. All right. So yeah, simple. I'm gonna ask you like, would you rather this, would you rather that? And if you feel free, I mean, give an explanation for your choice, that's totally up to you. We got 10 questions, so we got a couple to
Okay.
go through.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So first one, would you rather only eat raw eggs for every meal for a week, or would you cycle uphill nonstop for 8 hours straight in the blazing sun?
What the hell? Raw eggs. Come on now. And I can put my raw eggs in my smoothie. I've done that.
Okay. All
I
right.
always think of
Interesting.
Sylvester Stallone and Rocky. Yep. Raw eggs, no problem.
Mm.
Yeah.
I see Chanel said, "Excuse me, trust me, these questions are gonna get wild. These
Yeah. Yeah.
some of these are wild questions. So just fair warning right now, Sam."
Okay. Okay. Okay.
All right, all right. So okay, this one should be okay. This next one should be all right. Would you rather give up sugar forever, and that's including fruits as well, give up sugar
Oh,
forever, or train legs every day for the rest of your life, no days off?
no, give up sugar. That's and because training your legs every day is very dangerous.
Yeah, yeah.
With no days off, that's not how muscle works, by the way. You don't, the work doesn't happen in the gym. The work happens, you're damaging the muscle in the gym. The work happens, the growth in the rest and recovery.
Yeah, that's very true,
So
very true. I won't lie, like giving up sugar forever, like
I
including
know.
fruits, that's where it's like, ooh, like if it was just like
Yeah,
anything like processed sugar, it's like okay, I could do that, but like fruit, it's like okay, that's a little
I know.
sticky.
But there's still tomatoes, which are sweet. They're I mean, technically they're a fruit, but and carrots. Carrots are sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, little some sweetness there. So okay, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. All right. This one, I won't lie. This next one's like a very complicated one. So
Oh,
would you rather have perfect knowledge of fitness science, but have no ability to apply it physically? Okay. Or would you rather have world-class genetics and performance, but never understand how or why your body works? So, like, again, would you rather have like that perfect
Yeah.
knowledge, understanding, but can't apply it physically, or basically have like a perfect body, like perfect genetics with performance, but then you don't understand like how your body actually works?
No, I think I'd prefer the first one.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, that
so. Yeah.
I feel like it's a
Um,
valid one. Honestly, if I had like world class genetics and performance, but I couldn't know how or why my body works, I think I would go insane.
yeah, because then I'd make up too many stories in my head. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd have to
Hmm.
say number one for sure.
Okay. Okay. All right. Next one. This one's actually honestly, I feel like this one's going to be very easy for you. So I don't think this one's
Oh,
going to take that much time. Would you only eat fast food for a year or only eat boiled chicken and broccoli with no seasoning, zero seasoning for a year?
okay. You know what? I like fast food, but I watched Super Size Me. So yeah, it would be the boiled chicken and the broccoli.
Oh, I remember Super Size Me.
And how
Yeah.
long was that? Was that only 30 days?
Yeah, I think it was 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah, that's diabolical. It is without, yeah, because he had to throw in the no seasoning. I know. So
Yes.
basically, eat a table. Basically, eat a table. That's what we're doing. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Would you rather get only 3 hours of sleep a night, but train like a beast, like just be like constantly training, or sleep 9 hours a night, but never progress physically or gain strength?
Oh, that's a horrible. Like what?
I told you, Sam. Some of these were gonna be like super like sticky.
I probably have to say number two because sleep is magic, guys. Like if you don't have sleep, and if I'm training every day and only on 3 hours sleep, I'm absolutely going to injure myself and I'm going to make myself sick for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
So then what's the
100%.
point? Then what's the point? Yeah.
Shit, I was like,
Yeah.
nah,
See?
Sean, come on now.
Yeah. Yeah. Now. Yeah, these questions aren't fair, are they? Yes. Okay.
All right. Next one. Would you rather chug an entire gallon of expired protein shake, or live off only celery and kale for a month?
Okay. Sorry. What was the first part again? What?
So, would you rather chug an entire gallon of an expired protein shake, or live off only eating celery and kale for a month?
The second too because the expire if it's what if it's like really bad, I could get really sick. No, thank you. And
Yeah.
I have a thing with vomiting. I have a
Mm,
thing. Since I was a kid, I would do whatever I could to like hold it down because I would it would scare me. I would think I would die if I was throwing up. And if I'm
mm.
drinking an entire gallon of no, no,
Honestly,
yeah, kale and
I
celery.
think we need to move on so that way we don't get thoughts right now in your head.
Ship me to Mars, yeah, and Chanel's going to Mars, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, next one. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. Would you rather take an ice bath every morning at 4 a.m. for the next 3 years, or do a 1 hour hit workout in a sauna every day for 1 year?
Oh, ice shower. Come on.
Mm, okay. Yeah.
Okay, you want to die? You're gonna do hit in a sauna. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no,
That's just like I don't think you'd
no,
love yourself after that.
no. And you'd pass out. You'd
Yeah.
probably pass out from heat exhaustion. No, no, no.
Yeah.
Ice
Yeah.
shower.
Yeah.
Ice shower for sure.
Yeah, even Chanel's like I shower easily. Honestly, like that's not bad. Like every morning, just like it gets you going. Just like all right,
Of
like
course, of course. Uh-huh.
that's
Hmm.
not bad. Okay, next one. Would you rather be able to eat anything you want and stay shredded, but lose your strength? That's one. Or be the strongest person alive, but always look out of shape. I honestly don't know how that second one makes sense.
Because if you've ever seen power lifters, they look out of shape, but they are really, really strong.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
So I want to apologize on Sean's behalf. Thank you. Um, so this is the problem with the fitness industry is the fitness industry has done a really good job to say if you're only fit if you look like this, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't be fit if you look like this. And thankfully, we're starting to see small shifts, but there are a lot of very, very fit people who don't look fit. Now,
Mm-hmm.
sure, they might have extra fat, but that doesn't automatically mean you're unhealthy. And I know a lot of very unhealthy thin women and really healthy and fit bigger women. So it would be number two for me, no question.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. No problem. All
Yeah.
right. We got two more. This
Okay.
suffering will end very soon.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather? Oh, and I see Val also mentioned you can eat fast food that are healthy. Not all fast food are unhealthy. So I
That's
think
a
that's
really
also
good
going
point.
back.
That's a really good point, Val. And I should have thought about it that way because I mean I love Chipotle. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever I go to Chipotle, I make sure I order it in a certain way that is it's way more like it's a lot healthier, obviously, than McDonald's. So yeah, you've got a good point. So can I take my answer back then?
I mean,
I'm
it's
changing.
like
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. So that means you'll only eat fast food for a year then.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. That's
yeah.
fair. That's fair. Okay, last two, okay, and then we're gonna wrap things up. Would you rather never see visual progress in your body, no matter how hard you train, but your health improves? Like your health is improving, but you do not see no visual like progress in your body, no matter how much you train. That's one. Or you would see insane visual gains with zero actual strength or health benefits.
Well, that's the fitness industry right there. You basically said like that's the fit. People are injecting poisons in their body to be smaller. They're losing their colons. They're putting their stomach into paralysis. For example, I'm talking about Ozempic, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're making trillions of dollars, the big pharma. So you're making, and it's primarily women, you're making them addicted and you're making them sick to be smaller as opposed to, yeah, I mean, I'd have to say that's what happens with a lot of my clients. Like, not to say they don't see any physical change, I'm not going to say that, but because of the fact that, again, we've been brainwashed to think that the only thing that counts is the scale going down. Never mind the fact that, yeah, maybe your clothes are fitting a little bit better, but you're so much stronger. All your health markers have improved. You're no longer on cholesterol medication, you're off your diabetes medication and all that other stuff. Like, don't you want to live, or do you want to be small and then develop all that stuff because you put all that shit in your body and you've abused yourself? So that's basically the diet industry, and that's what I talk a lot about because I was absolutely one of those. I was a proponent of the diet industry. I used to tell people I want you to weigh yourself every week and measure yourself and count your macros and weigh your food. And at the end of the day, most people hate doing that. If I were to say to you right now, Shon, you have to go on a diet, you're not going to be like, oh, yay. You're going to think right away, you're going to think, oh, shit. Right? Like, now that means I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to do that. We automatically go into panic mode because now you're going to take my life away from me. And I'm not excusing and saying, yeah, you should eat ice cream every day and not eat vegetables. I'm not saying any of that. But what you basically said is what I'm trying to fight against when it comes to diet industry, especially,
Yeah.
and it's now so predatory on menopause because one of the top complaints with menopausal women across the board is weight gain. So
Mm-hmm.
we know the diet industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and now you bring menopause, and whoa, now people are just biting at the bit. What can I make? And now everything's menopause. Everything's menopause. Have
Yeah.
this menopause meal plan. Have this menopause workout. I saw a commercial for menopause shampoo. I was like, are you for real right now? Like, come
Honestly,
on.
this might be the first time we've done an activity on this show, and like the person we've been doing it with gets heated. Usually, it's
Oh,
supposed to be like super. No, I love it. I love it because like
yeah,
again,
no.
it's a passion. Usually, everyone's just like people get mad at me because again, sometimes I'm very mischievous. I'm a mischief when it comes to like what activity I bring, but it's all in a jokey joke, like, ah, Shon, like Here
Yeah.
you go. But Sam's like, nah, like for real, like this is the stuff I'm trying to fight about. But again, I love that passion, that drive. So
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very passionate about this. Yeah, I know. Like I saw it and I was like, what in the world am I looking at right now? When I saw the
yeah.
commercial, I was like, what?
All
Mark my
right.
words.
We're
Yeah,
we're
sorry.
gonna we're
Go
gonna
on.
wrap. We got one more, and then we're gonna wrap things up. So, would you rather never be able to speak about fitness and nutrition ever again, or only be able to speak in gym bro, like basically gym cliches for the rest of your life? So basically, like no pain, no gain. You're
No,
basically,
first one. First one.
yeah.
First one. No, first one. No pain, no gain. Again, I used to subscribe to that, and it doesn't do anybody any good, and it just harms people. And now I'm seeing the result of that years later. Women
Mm-hmm.
still feeling that they need to abuse themselves to look a certain way, and they're slowly dying inside. It's not worth it.
100%. And Val also saying, "Yep, I've gained lots of weight during menopause, but I have it under control now. Eating healthy and working out really helps." Yeah.
Good for you, Val. Good for you. That's wonderful to hear. Good for you.
So, I'm sorry, but that's the end of that torturous activity. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Okay,
to do all that. But
it's all right. It's all good. It's all good. It was fun. Thank you.
all right, so perfect, perfect. But that's everything I have for today. Sam, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story, your
My
expertise,
pleasure.
just being open. Like this was really a fantastic conversation. I hope anyone who was listening took a lot from this. So again, thank you so much. Where can people find you on social media?
Yes. So at Sam Core Trainer everywhere on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. At Sam Core Trainer. Um, that's where you'll find me.
All right, perfect, perfect. Again, thank you so much, Sam. Thank you to everyone listening to the Safe Room this week. Thanks to everyone in the chat. You guys were absolutely amazing with your feedback and your comments. If you want to find me on Instagram, I am at the Safe Room Official on Instagram. If you want to follow my personal page, it is the President of TO. Again, I'm going to reiterate July 12th is the event you want to be at for Love Bay Radio, Voice of the Millennials. It is the event that you have to come out and show your support. Again, there's going to be live African dance. There's going to be food and beverages, scholarships. We're going to be giving away nice merch and stuff like that. It's a lot going on. The fourth annual Youth Summit, Be the Light Youth Summit, hosted by Voice Millennials. I'll be hosting. So again, make sure to get your tickets now. You have 2 days. It's very doable, guys. All you have to do right now is like just go type in Eventbrite. Go to Eventbrite, type in Be the Light Youth Summit and get your tickets. Again, I will be there. So you definitely want to connect with everyone that's part of Love Bay. You want to be part of a very special day for Love Bay Radio and Voice of Millennials. So again, July 12th. Also, I told Sam about this. There's something I wanted to share that's coming on my end. July 26th, ladies and gentlemen. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, remember the dates. Well, July 26th will be a very special day for me. It's because I'm going to be doing a celebration event for the Safe Room. We're celebrating 5 years of doing this.
Ah,
It's a huge deal. So every year passes by, I don't do much, but this year I'm like, no, we have to. It's 5 years. We can't let it pass by. So July 26th, starting at 6 p.m., located at Toronto Podcast, 309 Cherry Street. We're going to be doing a celebration event. There's going to be games and prizes. We're going to have a fireside chat. There's going to be food and beverages. And I have a very special business announcement. It's something that I've been wanting to do and launch for the longest time. So you definitely want to tune out, come out for that. This is for anyone who's been a supporter of the Safe Room, of my show. It's everything. Like this whole show is everything for me. It's not just for me to say like I can come on and speak and just run my mouth. I do it for conversations like these. I want to bring
yeah.
people on to share their stories, hoping you guys connect with these guests I bring on. And even though I'm my crazy self, it's something I'm really passionate about. So again, July 26th, the Safe Room. Cheers to 5. Definitely want to get your tickets there. Go to my link in bio on Instagram, the Safe Room Official, to get your ticket. But until then, guys, we will be back next week. right here on Love Bay Radio, your favorite show, I may say, on Love Bay Radio. But until then, we'll see you guys next time.